on, bro?
How you doing, Miguel?
All right, good day. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. It's nice to talk with you. I've been enjoying the sampler CD that Shannon sent
All right,
over to
thank you.
me. Yeah. So I would say that so far, I've heard a lot of your tracks from the Mischief mixtape and other things floating around online, but with the sampler, as far as that's concerned, I think so far I'll Still Try is probably my favorite track off of there. It's got a really
Okay.
nice vibe to it. You mentioned you'd started 2 years ago on this. What are some of the fundamental aspects of putting together an album? Because a lot goes into it, I'm sure.
I think some of the fundamental aspects of putting an album together are, um, like I said, cohesiveness,
Mm-hmm.
um, theme, um, and at the end of the day, it's like you kind of want to take um, your listener on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
So that there should be some kind of arc to the. I mean, this is how I feel. That my favorite albums have an arc to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of like reading a great book.
Right.
There's definitely there's a sense of build and and when you reach the pinnacle, then it doesn't just kind of let you down or cut you off, but it just kind of it lets you kind of ride it out. And so that's what I was trying to do with this album is have a sense of cohesiveness that was seamless between the records of the album, but
Mm-hmm.
that was seamless in a way that created that arc and build, so that the listener kind of could just leave it on play all the way through. You know.
Gotcha. Now you've had a couple of working titles for the album. Is it still Gravity at this point?
At this point, it's still up in the air.
Okay.
That was a that's a working title. Because it fit the theme. It
Mm-hmm.
was a great theme. But as I'm always working on new records, and
Mm-hmm.
as we start maybe taking away or adding certain things, it kind of changes the overall theme of the
Okay.
album. So
Now
I think I
you
want the title to be just encapsulate the idea of the entire album.
Yeah, I gotcha. So you started singing at age 8, and I was wondering, were there any defining moments growing up that contributed to the development of your vocal style?
Well, I started singing at 5 and started writing at 8.
Okay.
But as far as I mean, it really is all the influences that I was pulling from that my parents just kind of exposed me to. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pulling from a little bit of classic rock, a little bit of a lot of hip. Like I mean, as far as vocally, it's like classic rock,
Mm-hmm.
funk, and soul.
Okay.
Those are my vocal influences as far as so stylistically my choices when I as far as delivery,
Mm-hmm.
those are the kind of styles that I look to that inspire me with.
Were there any particular voices that when you heard them on the radio or if you saw them perform live that really struck a chord with you innately?
Definitely. Freddie Mercury,
Mm-hmm.
um, John Lennon,
Mm-hmm.
um, some to like Prince,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Stevie Wonder, Donny Hathaway, um, James Brown, um, and artists like Sting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, they're in there. I think between those, you'll get kind of an idea of the range of what I'm pulling
Yeah,
from.
yeah, it's a really wide scope. um,
Right.
and when you mentioned Prince, he was who I thought of when I first heard "Strawberry Amazing."
Ah,
Uh,
word. Thanks, man.
yeah,
So,
it kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you ever got any of them, but they used to put out like these. Well, they were bootlegs, but like outtakes of Prince studio sessions, and
yeah.
it had a raw sound, and it reminded me a little bit of that flavor. And also, I mean, you're certainly assimilating a number of musical genres into the sound that you're putting out. Just the influences you mentioned, and you've obviously got a little bit of R&B, some hip hop, added with that some rock and even electro into your sound. So, is there a methodical approach to how that comes together?
Um, there's not, as far as the approach, it's not methodical, but there is a definite. I'm keeping in mind that I want to include all of my as many influences as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of which and which of those influences ends up being dominant in each song,
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of varies with what I'm feeling.
Okay.
But I try my best to incorporate as many because if I was just to use one,
Mm-hmm.
it would seem as if I was dragging or I was just copying.
Right.
The moment I start using all those influences and then kind of interpreting those influences. Taking those influences and kind of just putting them together and giving them to you the way that I interpret the way they make me feel.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a sense of individuality that you can't avoid.
Okay.
And I really feel that kind of comes naturally to me because those influences are what make me who I am.
And from that, you've gone on to some really impressive things on your resume now. I mean, because a little bit over a year ago, I guess a few years ago when you really started kicking in with writing for other artists, but like in 2008, you were involved in writing a really big hit in the form of Ifuleave for Mary J. Blige. So how did that opportunity come about, and what was that experience like for you?
Man, the opportunity came about. It all starts with Mark Pitts, who signed me at Jive. He's opened so many doors for me. Aside from this, he signed me at Jive, and I'm with Bystone, which is his label on Jive. But
Mm-hmm.
he's opened up so many more doors aside from just being signed to the label. He's put me with producers, and in this example, he put me with Carvin and Ivan, who are behind music's biggest hits from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And it was through them that, I started to build. Once I worked with them for myself, we kind of started to build a relationship. And I took a couple trips out there just to write with them. And one of the records I wrote while being out there, I co-wrote with Carvin, is If You Leave.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, it got to Musiq, who they were working with, and he loved the record, and he cut it, and they figured Mary J. Blige would be great too, and it just kind of happened that way.
Wow, that's
It just really starts with Mark Pitts. He really put me in a lot of. Same thing with Usher. He put me in with Usher, and Usher and I got to develop a really great working relationship. And he's, just like the opportunities through Mark have been amazing.
So what I wanted to ask you was about. I know that you've said on one of your blogs that your working relationship with Jam and Lewis has been really educational for you. So what can you tell me about that relationship and how that's helped your career or your music?
Well, Terry Lewis has been a mentor and such an amazing friend, and I got to meet him through Usher for this album that he just put out, Raymond versus Raymond, and fortunately we got to co-write 3 songs. I got to co-write 3 songs with them, both of them, that made the album.
Mm-hmm.
But Terry has just been, aside from being a creative influence because he's just a genius.
Mm-hmm.
He's more of he's the kind of person that will sit with you and just get your perspective and then give you a little. He'll be like devil's advocate. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he'll just kind of give you something to think about and let you kind of sit there and chew it. And then maybe the next time you sit down, we can have another conversation about it. He's just the kind of person that is very inspiring because he's, I don't know, he's like a natural poet somehow. It seems like everything he says should be in a song or should be written down somewhere on like a postcard or something. It really should be, but I think I look to him for unbiased guidance. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
He's a very unbiased person, and he has so much experience, and I just love him for always just being there whenever I give him a call. He's like, "Yeah, what's going on, man? What you doing?" And we just pick up